stop twice a week.
Oh, okay, twice a week.
What
okay.
we're really expecting or hoping to see as an outcome is that people will stop going out and binge purchasing at the beginning of the month and purchasing lots of foods that are not going to last. Buying shelf-stable stuff at the end of the month, which of course tends to be negative calorie type, yes. So we're hoping that being on site, people just won't spend as much today.
They know they'll be back
next week, yes.
So, excuse me, when you say you had 6 stops in North Tulsa,
Yes.
basically where are those stops?
I've got a card right here, but as far north as 63rd and MLK.
This is you here.
And then
That doesn't tell me anything.
as far south and east, yeah, I know, I purposely
Really?
made eggs.
Yeah.
And as far southeast is over at, we're actually having a stop at TCC Northeast Campus, Apache and Harvard, but predominantly between Peoria and Martin Luther King, Cincinnati, between Apache and North.
So are these like at different facilities, not like, maybe like senior living facilities and or just like a TCC or a Morton Health Clinic? Is that what you're saying?
No. So
your stops are primarily?
The 6 stops are primarily located near residential, but at a commercial center. So we'll be at the McLean Shopping Center.
Okay.
The convenience store up a little bit north of the new health department. Over at Osage Hills by Country Club Plaza. Did I mention 36 in Peoria? You remember when we did the event with the Tide Bros?
Right.
Yeah, that will be one of our stops. And then we'll have 6 stops in West Tulsa as well.
Okay.
Are the property owners charging you rent or any fee to use their property?
No. What we're seeing is if you're bringing economic interest in, essentially our goal is to build an ant trail to that facility so you can get used to coming over. And I mean, obvious choice would be to locate inside of a housing facility, but that doesn't do anyone any good when you go away. So being nearby will also encourage the healthy component of walking to the grocery store.
Do those 6 sites allow you to access their electricity? That's always a problem for farmers markets.
I haven't even asked. That's why we put the generator on boards.
Oh, you have a generator on board, like the food trucks downtown.
The noisy.
It's so noisy.
Yeah.
That's
It is
my
obnoxious.
least favorite part.
So Pam,
Yes.
why don't you continue on?
Well, I think most of you are probably pretty familiar with what WIC is. Everybody is familiar with what WIC is, who we serve. You know, generally though, when people think of WIC, I feel like everybody thinks of formula, and of course we just cringe because that's not what we want to be known for is formula. But we're really a nutrition education program above and beyond anything else. And now we do allow our participants to do online education, so that has been, you know, a big help because a lot of our moms are single moms, working or in school, and to take off for a sick child and all these other things, well then to try to take off for a WIC appointment too can be somewhat bothersome. So now they can go to the local library, do their class online, they can use their home computer. If you have a smartphone, you can actually do your WIC class online that way. So there's a lot of other avenues. When they first came out with that component, I took a couple of the classes myself, and I thought, oh, these are not really that, you know, in-depth, great meaty nutrition classes that I thought they would be, but they really look at the participants' readiness to learn. So if they say, no, I'm not ready to hear this, no, I'm not ready to learn this, they can essentially kind of learn nothing. But as reminded by the state office, when I'm sitting there teaching a class in the clinic and that mom's looking at her cell phone the whole time or distracted doing other things, she's also not getting anything out of that class. So it really didn't matter if she was coming into the clinic or doing it online. She's only going to get out of it what she wants to get out of it. So that kind of helped me be okay with the online classes. And then of course we have, the Tulsa Health Department has the 9 clinics, we have 6 dietitians. So there's also the one-on-one counseling. So for somewhere during that certification period, that child was deemed high risk, then they get that one-on-one counseling with the dietitian. I wish sometimes they valued that education more. If you think of how much it would be to pay to go see a registered dietitian. And they have this service totally for free. But a lot of times, unfortunately, it's just not valued that much. So the online classes, the one-on-one, then of course we do the group classes, and we try to change our lesson plans every quarter to really make them, you know, whether it's around the holidays, talking about using leftovers and things like that, or if we're doing something around springtime, getting them to encourage them to plant their own garden. So we kind of do physical activity a lot of times in the winter, so we try to really change it up to gear it towards the time of year and what's going on. Where are we at on this?
You're all set up if you want to use that.
Let's see, it might distract me more. And then of course, the foods that WIC provides is another, you know, the primary reason why most of the participants come to see us is for the food vouchers. So, and right now we still are using a paper voucher. Due to the government shutdown, we are still only doing 1 month at a time at this time, whereas we used to do 3 months at a time. But since it's kind of appearing to be a temporary shutdown until January, they haven't given us the approval to do the full 3 months, which will essentially hurt our caseload, but that is what it is. Let's see, and then of course the referrals. Everybody who walks out of WIC for the first time should have a referral to at least one other resource, and whether that's prenatal care, immunizations for their child, behavioral health, smoking cessation. I mean, we do numerous referrals every year. Oh, I might be hitting the wrong button, sorry. Here's my Bella, by the way. I tried to find a way to throw her in here. It was very interesting hearing you talk about, I have Bella, who's 2, I have 5 children, and then I have my mother living with me who's 75, and she's all about the sweets. So I totally understood the pie. I've never despised sweets so much in my life as I do right now. But of course the population we serve, infants, children up to the age of 5. If a woman breastfeeds, she can stay on WIC for a full year. Postpartum women, if they're not breastfeeding, up to 6 months, and then women during their pregnancy. And of course, over half of all babies born in Oklahoma are on WIC, so its assistance is much needed. And who qualifies? Again, I think why that statistic is so high, because we have a lot of population who maybe does not qualify for food stamps or SNAP, but yet is still struggling to put nutritious foods on the table. And so that's who we see a lot in WIC. Anybody on Medicaid, food stamps, TANF automatically qualifies if they're in one of those categories.
What's TANF?
What's that?
TANF?
It's
temporary assistance to needy families.
Thank you.
Former, what, the, you know.
welfare is what
yeah,
most
very
people would
reduced
call it.
form of
Okay.
formal welfare.
And of course, it's 185% of the poverty guideline, so I gave you one example there, family of 4, and make up to $43,568 and still qualify for WIC. Yes.
What is SNAP?
Yeah.
Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, but it's food stamps is what most of us commonly call it.
Okay. Is that what TANF is the same thing, doesn't it? Does that have something to do with food stamps?
TANF is more of a cash, and you know, WIC is so separate, and everybody thinks of WIC and food stamps as kind of one big entity, so that's why I can't answer a lot of those questions. But TANF is more cash assistance.
Oh, okay.
Under the welfare reform under President Clinton, it really changed. They put work requirements on. TANF is TANF is what everybody likes to talk about when they say that they know somebody on assistance, but there's very, very few people actually receiving TANF, and there's a work or education requirement attached to it.
Oh,
So it's just a tiny percentage of people get that.
As far as the WIC foods, most all WIC foods are low in fat, high in fiber. The WIC cereals, like you mentioned, you know, I've just been with WIC about 5 years, but it was so confusing when the tribal organizations offered certain cereals, and yet the state WIC offered other cereals. Gosh, think of those poor grocery store clerks trying to decipher all that. But now, you know, every WIC throughout the state of Oklahoma has the exact same foods that are allowed. And the only difference with that is our formula contract can be different. And then I think a lot of the tribal organizations don't allow chocolate milk, and we still allow some chocolate milk. So, and I think that was a lot to do with their diabetes rates and things like that. Let's see. And I mean, just some of the changes again while we're on the foods that I've seen. Just in the 5 years, when I first came to WIC 5 years ago, no fruits and vegetables, no whole grains. Infants were receiving a horrendous amount of fruit juice, which was being put into baby bottles. So, I mean, I think, gosh, that was just 5 years ago, but that was just 5 years ago. And within 5 years, we are giving them fresh or frozen fruits and vegetables. They did choose to eliminate potatoes, so they can't get white potatoes, because the goal of adding those fruits and vegetables was to encourage variety. Their biggest concern was people would go in and grab a bag of potatoes and call it good, so we really wanted to encourage variety. And they can do organic produce. We just always inform them their food dollar's not going to go as far a lot of times if they choose to do that. They can't do things like cilantro, your herbs, and things like that. So
They can?
they cannot.
Why not? Isn't that a fresh vegetable?
It is, but I think the choice was more, you just think of the nutritional density and the value, and again, they try to focus on, I don't know, I just think if you're trying to put something on somebody's table, you'd rather put broccoli than you would cilantro.
Well, yeah, right, that's true, but it just seems like it's to limit them to not have the cilantro or the parsley and those kind of things.
And a
Just
lot of
why limit?
the herbs do have minerals in them, and so a lot of the farmers were upset that they weren't in on the conversation
Yeah.
when there was this
It's
food
crazy.
selections that were chosen for the program.
I'm sure
But
every
it's
potato
also
farmer
real food.
is our
It's
enemy.
$6. It's not, I mean, is the allotment still, how much, what is the produce allotment
For
now?
a child, it's $6.
$6.
For a woman, it's 10.
Right.
Fully
Per
breastfeeding.
Per month, so
Yeah.
you're not talking about,
Wow.
you're not excluding, so when you're looking at a $6 purchase, I
Right.
think that does change the conversation.
month?
When you're talking cilantro or apples, I mean.
Per child, per adult.
But it adds up, you know, when you have
No, it's
100
wonderful.
people that are cashing that in at the farmer's
Or
market.
if you have 3
Yeah.
children, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of our participants maybe have 3 children
Yeah.
on WIC
Yeah.
and themselves, so you're talking, if they're on themselves, $10, 6 for each child. And again, they can, we were talking earlier before we started the discussion, they can price match, so they can take Aldi's ad into Walmart and get those avocados that are on sale for $1 each, so they can be strategic. I was telling them also that this was our first year. They used to be able to use the fruit and vegetable vouchers at certain farmers markets, but this year, none in Tulsa County, unfortunately, is like that, so.
But it's still a lot of progress that has been made. If we look at, and there could be an opportunity to work with, our local farmers to make some changes to some of those rules and whatnot. But I remember, being a child where, the assistance came in the form of what we would always call commodities. The big block of cheese.
Government cheese.
Made the best macaroni, but probably wasn't too good for the gastric system.
Five
Powdered
generations
milk.
later, especially with the tribes, and
Yeah.
we question and wonder why in the world do they have
Diabetes.
diabetes,
is such a
endemic,
right,
5
epidemic.
generations
Yeah.
of those commodity
That's right.
foods.
That's right. And the big jar of peanut butter.
Loaded with fat.
Yeah, with a slick, a oil slick on top. Yeah, but you could get a 5-pound bag of pinto beans though. So some benefits, some drawbacks, but we're making, looks like we're making some progress. So
Yeah,
always
that's
room
true.
for improvement.
Yes,
That's true.
thank you.
That's true.
When we first started offering those, we did receive numerous complaints. $6, what is $6? And you were just, to me, I was like, gosh, I'd be so thankful just that, $6. And so we did do examples and brought in sales ads and showed them what all you could
How far
get
that
with
can go.
$6. And we did have our redemption rates, I'm trying to think because it's been a few years back, but we would have, I think at the time, 2 out of 10 participants never even cashed their fresh and frozen fruit and vegetable voucher.
Wow.
And you're just like, wow, we're giving you this. And so we really tried to educate them and tell them, in order to ask for more funding for fruits and vegetables, we need you to cash what we're giving you. We need to show that it's needed and wanted. And so I think our redemption values have really improved. And a lot of that, as we discussed, was due to obstacles they were encountering at grocery stores and things like that. So that's improved a lot.
I think
No
it's
mom,
great.
Yeah, no mom likes to, and like I said, we're still doing the paper vouchers. Most moms are shopping at their local grocery store. She has to separate out her groceries, she has to put her WIC voucher down there. That can be embarrassing when your neighbor's behind you in line. So we are going to the food card a little more discreet. It's just gonna take some time to get us there. So, let's see what else. Did I skip anything there? And we do have soy milk now. I think of all the things, we have the lactose-free milk. We have tofu. I have yet to have a participant request the tofu. We do offer it in Oklahoma.
Culture again.
Yes. In Oklahoma, it's not a huge thing that people want. One thing I will say, when we started offering the whole grains, we had tons of negative feedback. I mean, we don't want wheat bread. That stuff is nasty. We eat white bread. So we did begin to look at, you know, the population we were serving and how we could offer other options. So now they can do brown rice, they can do corn tortillas, and other things. So.
And do they do goat's milk?
No.
Canned goat?
No.
They don't do that.
Nothing this time. Let's see. And then, of course, breastfeeding promotion. I mean, as a mother, if I'm myself, I'm always appalled when a mom says I don't have time to breastfeed, because I'm like, wow, I don't have time to formula feed. So we do, every pregnant woman on WIC is required to go through a breastfeeding class. A mom who breastfeeds is going to get twice as much food. She's going to stay on WIC twice as long. Her baby's going to receive $50 more in baby foods than a baby who's receiving formula. So, and again, that's all just occurred in the past 5 years. It didn't, when I first started WIC, if you breastfed or didn't breastfed, you got the same benefit. So I felt like they've really, you know, said we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we're really going to promote this. Our breast pumps, you can walk into a baby store to buy a breast pump. It's $300. If you're on WIC, we will give you that breast pump. If you're a mom who's working and you're committed to breastfeeding, we will give you a breast pump so that you can provide breast milk for your baby. So I mean, just numerous. We also have handheld pumps. We loan out hospital grade pumps for that baby who's in NICU and maybe mom's just has a temporary need for a pump. We will loan her that $1,600 breast pump for her to use until her baby gets out of NICU. So just numerous resources so that mom can provide that breast milk to her baby. 3 of our clinics have breastfeeding peer counselors. These are moms who are on WIC themselves who have breastfed their own babies for 6 months or longer. And they're kind of the breastfeeding cheerleaders, so really there to cheer mom through this breastfeeding process. They can also issue these pumps, so keep in mind, most of our clinics, all the 9 clinics I run, we are scheduled for a client every 15 minutes. So every 15 minutes, you have somebody coming in for an appointment. You've got to check that screaming child's weight, their height. You've got to do an iron check. You've got to do a full nutrition assessment. You know, you're going through this process. You get a mom in there who has a newborn and she can't get her baby to latch. You don't really have time to deal with that issue. Now we can kind of move them over to a peer counselor who can help them with some of those simple issues and get them past that. And just some of the documented benefits of WIC. Of course, lots of referrals to other resources. Pregnant women are shown to receive prenatal care earlier who are on WIC. More moms on WIC choose to breastfeed than formula feed. Oh, I think that was pretty much it. And just WIC increases the duration of pregnancy and the baby's weights prenatally. And then there is our 9 WIC clinics. I had done a presentation based about Hispanic population, and so those are actually kind of listed based on the highest Hispanic population to the lowest. But the 3 clinics, top clinics there, I mean, we serve over 2,400 just at each of those top 3. So we serve over 13,000 participants a year.
So I have a question on your nutrition education. Do you have any idea how successful that is? Do you track outcomes at all?
We do we have a state review every 2 years, and they will have the participant complete a survey saying what was this class about. But a lot of times it's just that feedback. I remember we did one over physical activity, and it was actually the one that used the veggie costumes I was talking about. And it's actually a DVD we give the participants to get their kids up and active during those winter months when they might be trapped inside. And I mean, sometimes you'll have a mom come back in and she's like, oh my gosh, she just loves that video and she's been doing that every day and we do it together and I've actually been watching what I eat now and working out. So a lot of times it's just that, informal feedback, and you're like, somebody got it, and somebody cares, and so.
Are you a nutritionist? No, I'm a librarian. But I do a lot of, education kinds of things, and one of the things we always worry about is how do we know that people are actually learning and understanding what we're saying. So, you spend I think it's great. You spend so much time helping all these women but I think I would be very curious, to know how well the message is coming across.
I think it can definitely be discouraging. I mean, I know when I first came to WIC, you got the impression these people are here for their vouchers. They don't want to hear what you have to say. But I think, there's a percentage that are there and they want the information. They're ready to receive it. They want to make the change.
Well, and during the discussion I was overhearing you talking about information overload, and especially with populations who may have low literacy levels.
Mm-hmm.
It would be, it's just a whole constellation of issues. I face some little ones myself, so I was actually wondering if you had solved them.
No, I think, obviously I used to, have those classes, and the moms would start talking amongst themselves and sharing the information, and that was always, to me, so exciting, that they wanted to get involved. And then you have those classes where everybody's looking down at their cell phones, nobody wants to hear the information, and you kind of walk away with your head down and be like, well, maybe next time.
What did you do to get their attention when you were working with the people that was coming in for WIC? What did you do to get their attention?
As far as for the classes?
Yes.
It varies. Different lesson plans, different things would prompt. I think when we first started offering the fruits and vegetables, sometimes something that strikes a nerve will get them talking. So, have you had any trouble cashing your voucher for fruits and vegetables? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, and they would get talking. And so a lot of times just doing something like that, trying to find something that they'll get them talking.
That you can relate to them with?
Mm-hmm. Okay. We did a lesson plan not too long ago, and it was really over getting your kids more involved in the kitchen. And I have 5 kids myself, so I give them my tips, and other moms would share their tips. And we just talk about making your children more involved in running the whole house completely. And moms generally love to talk about their kids, so if you can get them talking, then it goes pretty well.
So Rita.
Okay, yeah, so I'm Rita Scott. I'm with the Oklahoma Farm and Food Alliance. And so my main focus is the farmer who's growing this real food that is on this grocery trailer that is nourishing all of us. That is the topic of our health. And so some of the policy pieces that we have been dealing with at the farmer's market, SNAP hasn't always been accepted at the farmer's market. And so a group of us worked really hard to make that possible. A young couple farmed in California 10 years ago. They were accepting food stamps, the SNAP card, at the farmers markets there. So it takes a while in the Midwest, doesn't it, for things to catch on. So in 2009, we were able to work with the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Health, and a group of concerned farmers to make that happen. And so you can purchase only edible foods at the farmer's market, but not the crafts and any of that, just the foods. And then we also have the seniors farmers market nutrition program. And there are only 400 cards that they load up, only $30, and you would be amazed. February, the phone starts ringing. Is it time yet for me to be able to go and sign up for the card? Where can I? Word of mouth in the community. Where can I go to sign up for this card? I'm a senior, I'm over 61. I would love to have those delicious tomatoes. And it's Area Agency on Aging through INCOG. Who knew? If you're out in the community, would you ever think You would, you knew?
Well, we actually hosted a workshop here and issued those cards for the seniors, so.
You hosted, thank you very
Yes, we did.
much.
Yes,
That
we did.
was
We're
a
looking forward to
wonderful.
doing it next year.
Yes, that is really good. There were, and the problem is that we're really energetic over here in Tulsa. In Oklahoma City, it is not the case. And the farmers market is held at OSU, OKC Farmers Market, and the university did not want to mess with the EBT machine and the processing and handling the paperwork. So with the major market over there not wanting to deal with the paperwork, it has skewed the amount of interest for the state. And so they had $75,000 that was put into the kitty. And of course, over here in Tulsa, we were at 400 in a waiting line, and that is the only amount that 35,000 was what Tulsa was able to receive. And we need more money in that for our seniors. We're working on that. That's another policy piece that we could all start working on together to get more money into that. And then the other one was is the WIC. And the WIC, so very confusing, as you say, it's a voucher. So getting the farmers to sign up for it is a separate piece than the market manager who has the card. And even the banks, they weren't informed. And when the farmers were putting the voucher into their bank deposit, they were holding those vouchers on some of the farmers like, now wait a minute, what are you doing with this voucher? It's normally Walmart, it's normally Dollar General store, you know, and basically putting holds until I would have to call the Department of Health at the state level, call the bank to be able, and this was in the first year that we, in 2009, tried to implement it, and so now you've heard just announced that there weren't any farmers that took advantage of the program, you know, and so there are still some glitches that we need to move forward with this. The farmers also would have to have it notarized, unlike the Osage tribe. You know, all you do is just name, address, and make it a real simple process. And so it needs to be simplified, and I have mentioned this to the State Department of Health too, and they're adamant about getting the notarization, and so they're not interested in simplifying the process. And so these are policy pieces that we're all becoming aware of, and we need to improve upon too. So that's the WIC, SNAP, and seniors. And so the most exciting that we're doing for the community now at the Cherry Street Farmers Market and also at the Pearl is that we have created a double up food buck program, meaning that when you come to the market and you swipe your card and you say, I would like to spend $20 today, then we match, and I'm also on the board at the Cherry Street Farmers Market, that we match $20, and so it's like getting $40 of fresh fruits and vegetables rather than $20. This has just been wildly successful. We started in 2011, and we've matched almost $26,000. And it's per visit that a SNAP recipient can come, not one time a month, and they can only purchase fruits and vegetables with this match, with this double up match.
Are they educated on that when they get their sign up for SNAP and get their card?
Yes, they are. The lines are long, and we were not geared at the farmers market for the madness that went on. You know, they would swipe and they get these tokens that they have to use to spend at the market. We were having to scurry to the farmers and gather up the wooden tokens and bring them back to be able to, and walkers and wheelchairs. I mean, it's just really amazing. You know, we say that jobs are improving, right? And that's the reports, but there are still a lot of people are suffering, aren't they?